The LBJ Library has never shied away from the most urgent and even most controversial issues of the day. That was abundantly clear just 18 months after the library's dedication. In December 1972, the library convened a momentous two-day symposium to take stock of the Johnson administration's achievement in the arena of civil rights, including the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, and to consider the path forward for a nation still struggling with segregation and injustice. Over 2 days, some of the great civil rights leaders of the post-1945 era were there, including Vernon Jordan, Barbara Jordan, Roy Wilkins, Henry B. Gonzalez, Clarence Mitchell, and Julian Bond.
On the positive side, we are no longer slaves. Next, we can sit at lunch counters, sit downstairs in movie theaters, ride in the front of buses, register, vote, work, and go to school where we once could not. But in a great many ways, we are constantly discovering that things have either not changed at all, or in some ways have managed to become much worse.
But one of the high points of the event came when Lyndon Johnson, despite mounting health problems, took the stage and delivered a heartfelt 30-minute speech that acknowledged the distance the nation still had to travel to assure full citizenship and opportunity for all.
We know there's injustice. We know there's intolerance. We know there's discrimination and hate and suspicion, and we know there's division among us. But there is a larger truth. We have proved that great progress is possible. We know how much still remains to be done. And if our efforts continue, and if our will is strong, and if our hearts are right, and if courage remains our constant companion, then, my fellow Americans, I am confident we shall overcome.
One of the members of the audience that day was LBJ's younger daughter, Lucy Baines Johnson. Lucy, can you tell us a little bit about the circumstances surrounding your father's participation in the Civil Rights Summit of 1972?
Well, I was fortunate enough to be there. I had just gotten out of the hospital myself and been told that I probably ought not to go to the symposium, but I couldn't bear not to do so. And when I saw that my father was meaningfully delayed and ambled onto the stage looking like a very old and ill man, and he was just in his 60s. I had a lump in my throat that sort of took over all of the emotions that I had about the day. After the event was over and after he had spoken, I rushed to get to his side and I said, "Daddy, then why did you do that?" And he looked at me and smiled and said, "Oh, Lucy Baines, that's easy. If I had died, I would have gone dying for what I lived for."
The event grew heated at times as disagreements over the priorities and pace of the civil rights struggle came to the fore. At one particularly heated moment, LBJ walked up to the stage and put his arms around the shoulders of Clarence Mitchell and Roy Innis, two civil rights leaders with different outlooks. As President Johnson had done so often through his political career, he settled the argument, at least for the moment, through his legendary skills of persuasion. The struggle for equal rights and opportunity continues in the 21st century. But for a brief moment in 1972, LBJ and the others gathered in Austin highlighted the bold steps that the nation had recently taken in the value of reasoned debate.